Today's guest life mission is to teach and empower people. He's a certified life coach, entrepreneur, business owner, and artist who is now focusing his professional energy on teaching singles and couples on how to create and maintain successful relationships. Welcome to the show, Andre. How are you doing?
Good morning, Toby. I think it's morning. You're in Germany, so is it morning for you still? No?
No, it's evening already. Yeah.
Wow. Incredible, right? How we get to have conversation across the world. Love it.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Mirror Talk. I really appreciate your presence, and I'm looking forward to everything that we're going to learn about relationship in this episode. Like I'm, getting ready with my notepad and pen and everything, and
Nice.
Yeah. But before we jump into relationships, I would love to learn from you yourself, from your own life journey personally. While preparing for this interview, I was going through your website and I found out that you categorize your life into three phases, starting from you dancing professionally from 1984 till the year 2000. I find it interesting, and I would love you to just share these three phases of your life with me. And why did you divide your journey so far into three phases?
Well, I think I didn't really plan out that way. Right? It's just life sort of happens, and it did come out to three completely different phases of my life. Like as one phase got, kind of through, like the next phase became a different purpose and a different purpose. So if I explain quickly, I come from a family of 5 kids. I'm number 4, and life was odd in my family. Like so, at the age of 5, I kind of could finally put thoughts to my feelings that I was actually, I remember this, like I'm looking at you, like sitting in the steps. I can remember the wallpaper, the carpeting. And at 5 years old, I realized I was born in the wrong family. I was born in the wrong, these people are not my people. They don't like me and I can't relate to them. And I'm just literally at odds with them, like 5 years old. So it was both devastating and scary. And at the same time, it was left me with the I guess it's up to me. Right? Like I have to take care of myself. Like 5. It's kind of weird. It's been intense. And what happened is from that, I became super, super aware of everything. I started watching people, first my family, trying to understand how that's possible. Because that was so real for me, right? It was like, how is this possible that I don't fit here? Like the stork took me to the wrong house. Like, what am I doing here? Right. And so that was odd, but I started watching them. I started going to school, watching everybody. So I became a watcher of human beings and people, fascinated with human conditions, just fascinated. How did people, the more different or strange even the person was, the more I was curious. How'd you get to be like you? So nothing scared me. People that were weird or strange or different don't scare me. I'm just curious. I go around to them, which sometimes they're trying to keep people like me away from them. That's why they look strange. So that's sort of, since I was 5 years old, I've been watching people, studying people. And it's interesting because with that, it fits my work now that I sense people. I don't have to talk to you. I know you. Like I feel you. Yeah, it's interesting. So we all have that ability. I just started really early. Anyway, so I was kind of disconnected from that space, this disconnected little kid, pretty sad little kid, and didn't fit in anywhere in school. I kept watching everybody. I couldn't get into anything. It was odd, right? But at the age of 16, maybe a little bit, 15, almost 16, I believe, I went to a private high school. And we had some fancy, because it was private high school, and you could take ballroom dancing for PE, physical education. I was a swimmer because I was a loner. If you were looking for me, I was usually sitting at the bottom of the pool by myself, like at the bottom of the pool. Right? Like I wasn't good at team sport. I was a loner. I was an oddball. So the beginning of the year, you had to sign up for a different kind of PE that you picked until it was full. And this young girl who I didn't know, I was an outcast. I didn't know anybody knew I was alive. This beautiful little young girl comes up to me. She remembered me from somewhere else. And she's like, oh my God, I want to take ballroom lessons for PE, but you have to sign up as a couple. You want to be my partner. And I'm all, huh?
How did you find me?
Right. First, I didn't know she knew I was alive. Second, she's the cutest little thing. She's this big. Right. So I get to hold her in my arms. Wow. Yeah. And I won't have to get, change for PE in Canada where it's cold to get in the pool. Even if it's indoor, it's cold. Right. So 1, 2, 3, of course. Let's go. Now, this is where the interesting part comes in, because I was like a outcast. I get into the first class and with the girl in my arms. And for instantly, the first class, whatever the teacher showed, I could do. I could just do it. I instantly copy it. It was like, well, that's interesting. The kid who fits nowhere, who's good at nothing, right? This is in here. That was a gift. That was a gift. Thank you, God.
You found the right fit, yeah.
It was just there. Like, it was like overwhelming. So I become like invisible and a geek, you know, and an outcast to like the star student, assisting the teacher. And then I started teaching along. And all of a sudden all the girls, I'm a star. Like, well, that was a different life. So really quickly within that year, I remember thinking, this is what I'm going to do for a living. It makes my heart smile. First of all, music, dancing makes my heart smile, makes me happy. So I decided the girls love guys who can dance. That's all I want to do. And I did. I made a career out of this. So I went from ballroom moved to the West Coast. Ballroom did not exist. I ended up doing in a jazz studio, commercial jazz dancing. They call it kind of contemporary now. And I ended up getting a scholarship after 3 months, which is ridiculous. It doesn't happen that way. Like, you don't know anything of 3 months of jazz dancing. But they gave me scholarships. So I guess scholarship was, I never paid for my training. So next thing you know, my life is developing and dancing. Yeah. This is what I wanted, but it's just, anyway, so moved to Los Angeles. I get scouted I have my own Hollywood story. I was here for vacation. 2 days in, I'm at a party with dancers. And I get scouted and I get hired, and off I go on the road, just like in the movies. So I became a commercial jazz dancer, settled in Los Angeles, signed up dancing with Paula Abdul, Michael Jackson, Prince, Julio Iglesias, and I traveled the world doing this for 15 years. I taught, I traveled, I performed, I produced shows. I was in Thailand for 4 months. I was in Japan a million times. Fantastic life, dancing, having fun, seeing the world. Beautiful. I met my wife, early when I got to Los Angeles for touring. Within a couple of years, she's a ballerina. She was one of my students. But wait, we see her, you get it right away. Anyway, beautiful, sweet woman. So we both travel, for our lives, because she's a ballerina as well. So it's part of the world, it's part of the life. And then when we decided to start a family, this was phase 2 of my life. This is where I decided that I wasn't going to be traveling the world. I was not going to be an absentee dad. I was going to be in my kid's life. I was going to be present. So I opened a car business in Los Angeles because I had some money and I love cars. I'm Canadian and I love old cars. So it started with my love of old cars, restore them, and became a full-on production business. Yeah. But it was like the shop was literally 6 minutes from my house, and the school was 2 blocks away. So I was at every recital, every meet, everything that happened, every Halloween party, every morning, whatever parade. Both of us were there, my wife and I. That's what I wanted that's how I want to raise my kids. I want to be present. So my big life became much smaller, but instead of me going to the world would come to me. That was actually really great. So I did this for many, many years. 22 years altogether, fixing cars, but I was always a teacher at heart, and even my customers would pick my brain. For some reason, people tell me everything. They just tell me everything. Everybody, the cab driver, the Uber driver, my customers that close the door. Okay, that's kind of personal. But my husband is okay, all right, let's talk about it. It was funny. It's so something about me, people just spill out. Anyway, so 2006, in the middle of owning the second business, I was always doing personal development workshops. I've been doing this since I was 23 years old. I always want to learn. I'm curious. 2006, I ended up being invited to this workshop called Understanding Women in Los Angeles. And I'm like, okay. I agreed to go because I was invited. It was a gift. So, the workshop's expensive. So for free, yeah. And I go, oh, wait, what is it? What are we doing? Understanding Women. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of cute. Because you have to understand, since I started dancing, I had no problem with women, right? I have options. I had choice. I attracted sweet women. Right? I didn't do the crazy stuff my friends did with the yelling and none of that. So I thought I knew something. I think I don't know what, but so I went there thinking, okay, it's going to be cute, whatever. So I remember walking into that room that Saturday morning, and there was 400 people in there. And it was like, oh, this isn't cute. Something is serious going on here.
Mm.
And what I learned in that workshop blew my mind. Like, it just, my brain was all over the wall. And I realized I knew nothing about women. Zero. Absolutely zero. And I knew nothing about my wife, which is the most scary, because at the time, we were married and I had a toddler and a baby. So all my siblings are divorced 2-3 times. One's on 4 now. I have my baby. I'm not going to mess this up and become a statistic because I don't know. You know what I mean? Just because I don't know, like, I'm not that guy. So I went crazy. So I jumped into the company's material. I took all their courses, of course. I became a workshop leader for them in training. So again, the teacher in me was just there. It was easy for me to teach, this material because I was teaching my whole life,
Yes.
I remember teaching dance classes to like 900 people at a time. So put me in front of anybody, I'm comfortable. That was my whole life since the beginning.
Yeah.
So that was a no-brainer. And of course, I kept studying and researching. So I ended up working with like Dr. John Gray, Mars and Venus, Shanti Felhan in the South, Dr. Pat Hall in Los Angeles here. I'm trained as a therapist. I'm not a therapist and I want to be a therapist, but I'm trained by one. And all of expertise of 44 years of practice. And then Esther Perel in New York City, another doctor who does a lot of work on intimacy, love, and sex, and why people cheat. Anyway, so I have this cocktail of information with these masters for the past few years.
Yeah.
And of course, people started asking questions. They talked to me anyway. So my friends and my neighbors, and realized really quickly that my life's purpose was really to teach this stuff to the world and really put a dent in the cultural belief that equality is the way to go. It's not, not for relationships, for business, for life, and for life matters, equalities, equal rights, equal pay, equal opportunity. Of course.
Yeah.
But we know that equality, that approach to relationships, love's dynamic is the kiss of death. It neutralizes everything. It neutralizes polarity, it neutralizes intimacy, it neutralizes attraction. And people fall apart. They don't know why. Equality in love is the kiss of death. I'm going to say it again. Equality in love kills everything. This is my work. I've been doing this since then, right? So interesting stuff. So my job now, my purpose, my mission is to sort of, help people understand this, kind of sound the alarm on believing that's the way to go. And, because it's interesting in the time of history, this is the time in life, in history of mankind, where we have all the options, we have all the knowledge, we have, you can do whatever you want, you can be whoever you want, right?
Of course,
Women can do anything they want. They've proven it over and over again. But somehow statistics say, women are less happy now the past almost 20 years now, they're more unhappy now than they've ever been in the history of the world.
Yeah.
How could that be, right? This is where I come in because I know why. But it just seems weird. Like women are less happy now that their mothers, their grandmothers, their great grandmothers, and all the generations before with all the options.
Yes. So I would love to dive back to, the seminar that you attended that started it all.
Yeah.
Where you learned about how to understand women and now combining it to, the statistic that is just said now that women are less happier than all the women in history, for example.
Unbelievable, huh?
Yeah. So please, can you explain to me what you learned from that seminar and why the statistic is now so that women are, not as happy as the other women in history?
Yeah. So what I learned is really because we know men and women are different, of course. We see our difference all the time. What motivates me doesn't motivate my wife. What I think is exciting, she's like, really? What she thinks is exciting, I go, okay, whatever. Oh, let's put a pillow on the bed and let's put more little boxes around the house because they're cute. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, so we're so different. Again, this is part of the cultural thing that I like to dismantle. I try to dismantle. I teach. Because it's just nature again. What I teach is nature and science. I don't teach my opinion. But we're different human beings. We operate. This is the major part of Dr. John Gray's work the past 10 years. The chemistry of our bodies make us act different, want different things, operate differently, communicate differently, talk differently, listen differently, behave differently, work differently. Everything about us is different. So equality in that idea of we should be the same is where the problem is. We're actually very different. It's so different. It's like Mars and Venus. It's not even close. It's much bigger. It's night and day. It's completely in opposition because we're actually made to fit. So we have like two pieces of a coin. You know what I mean? It's two halves that make a whole. If we talk about a relationship, you know, in my world, because of my dancing background, it's so obvious, right? Like, look behind. This is me and my wife. You know what I mean? It's ballroom dancing. Now that is a partnership, right? Yeah. And the metaphor between dancing and relationships is the same. Like it's two independent people coming together and then becoming this new unit that becomes the dance, which is the relationship. So it's two into one. But to think that this is about equality, it's not, right? What he's doing is completely opposite of what she's doing. You know, she's actually doing everything he's doing backwards in high heels and a dress. You know, that's not right. So it's not this, it's this. This takes some learning. So the blending of two different pieces become a whole. That's a point. So we're not supposed to be the same. But I said, what I do best, or what I'm compelled to do naturally, that I love to do, she doesn't necessarily want to do, and vice versa. So it's like we complement it that way. It's beautiful. We're made to fit. You know, what I say when I get to be crass a little bit is, you know, we're as equal as our genitals. Look down. Not at all the same, but made to fit. That's everything about us is like this. Men and women were made to fit. We complement each other in every way possible. This is my work, and it's fantastic. But if you're going to fight that, this is why there's a struggle. This is why men are like, I don't know what the hell, right? The women are like unhappy. They want men to act like women. Not any normal, self-respecting man will ever talk like your girlfriend, will be sweet like your girlfriend, will be vulnerable like your girlfriend. He can't, right? That's unnatural. Now, there's some learning. You can learn some of this stuff, but to insist that he does it like a girl, ridiculous. It's never going to happen. And like I said, no normal, self-respecting man will do it. We encourage women to be masculine. That's good for business and work and making money, but put that in front of a masculine man, we have a problem. They don't want that. They walk away from that. They want the feminine essence. Interesting. Nobody's talking about that, right? So this is where everything comes undone. This is what I see. Women are not happy. They can't create bonds with men. Men walk away from them constantly. And they want to blame men for it. That's the culture. It takes two. And we've taught women for the past 6 decades or so, men as well, to value is actually keeping relationships at bay. It makes relationships more difficult, if not impossible. And this is the work that I do. Woo! How's that?
That's awesome. Yes. So when we put all of this into place,
yes.
Do you say we'll be able to build like a very healthy, fulfilling long-term relationship? And if not, what are the things that we could also do in order to achieve, or build a healthy, fulfilling, long-term love relationship?
It's okay. So again, there's two pieces of the puzzle, right? It's not. It's two. It's so in every. A relationship. This is where the problem stands, and I'm going to get back to your question. Our culture, the feminist movement especially, but it's across the board and everywhere, have convinced people or women that for the past centuries, it's been patriarchy telling women what to do. Men in charge telling women to do, right? So yes. The idea is that men are in front of women and she's behind, right? Okay, that's not exactly it. It could look that way, I understand, but that's okay. That's a whole different conversation. So what we taught women the past 60 years is like, forget being behind him. You're better than this, right? Get in front of him. Do you know what I mean? So now women are trying to get in front of men and have been getting in front of men, across everywhere in culture in the world. But again, that doesn't work either. Men is on man. Any self-respecting man is not going to be led that way, right? And so it's not him in front of you. That's a misunderstanding. It's completely a misunderstanding. It's not true. And it's not her in front of him. That won't work either. Either don't work. It's me and her together, side by side. You see the difference? People don't. The culture is not representing relationship like this. It's partnership, not one in front of the other. That's crappy, right? That's, of course, nobody wants that. Do you want to be controlled? I don't want to be controlled. She doesn't want to control. But partnership means we bring two pieces, like the dance, we bring two pieces of the pie to make a whole. So in every relationship, by the way, again, this is how natural this all is, right? I have these. I work with men, I work with women, I work with couples, right? And so I'm always researching and studying relationships and how do you communicate in your relationship, whether it's parent-child, employer-employee, right? Partnership within a business. So the first example that pops into my head of the dynamic of the differences that make a partnership work is that both bring a different piece to the partnership. So I have these two guys that are partners that make a ton of money, and in their personality, one is extroverted. He's the guy on the microphone. He's the guy on the podcast. He's the guy talking about. He's the guy who's like in your face, right? Alpha, leading, like blah blah blah. He's the voice. He's the face. He's the what they see, right? But what he's talking about is actually designed and created by his partner. It's a guy. There's two guys doing business together, right? So the other guy is a thinker. The other guy is a creator. The other guy is the idea guy. You know what I mean? They come together. They go blah 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 blah. We should do this, and they go, yeah, I'll design it. So one is the extroverted one, the other one the introverted one, if you want to put it that way. When I'm saying they're two different pieces, but together, boom, they make a ton of money. Because if they were both, try to fight the camera, they would go to hell. If they were both not able to do the work, the background work, the groundwork, the creative work, right? Again, if they're both trying to be in front of the mic, there's nothing to talk about, right? So,
true.
You see, I mean, every dynamic, every relationships, especially duo relationships, but many in companies as well, everybody's got a space and their role and the thing that they bring to add to the pie. So love relationships are like this completely. So it's not in front or behind. It's how we do this together. I like to do this, and I'm really good at this. Oh, you don't like these things? Oh, you'd rather do these things. How to get this together? And all these things are negotiable, right? There's like male things and female things that are typical, but there's everything else in between that we need to go negotiate. So some women will take some of the male traits, and some men will take in the negotiating. The same thing like dancing, it's all negotiable. It's not 1950, right? In the kitchen, barefoot, cooking, and he's out there making the money, and she's a slave. That's not it. That's not it together. Well, how are we going to build our lives? What is it we want? What's it look like? What's the future? Right? That's a partnership. And now we don't see it that way in our culture. We see women have to get in front. Well, like I said, this is why they're all my clients are the same. Strong, independent, powerful women. They're amazing, super smart, do a lot of good business. No man wants to date them. They have no man is trying to date them. Or the ones that are trying to date them are the very soft, sweet men who want her to take care of them. Interesting. Neither is working. So when a woman is stuck in a masculine, they don't typically know it. They attract soft men and repulse, the masculine man. My favorite line, and I'll let you ask a question. My favorite line is when women come to me and say, yeah, I intimidate men. And they go, no, get over yourself, right? You are irritating the man. That's different. When you're masculine, you're disrespectful to a man's masculinity. And no man's going to stand for that. They really will walk away from you without saying hello. They actually could smell it off of you. So if you're a masculine woman and pushing this agenda hard for yourself, and if you're fighting, the world and competing in the world acting like a man, you don't meet men. They literally just walk away from you. It's disrespectful. It's irritating. It's annoying. In business, they'll deal with you because they have to. Everybody's out there working. That's fine. You'll still irritate them, but they'll deal with it. But in personal life, not one guy will stand with that stuff. Not one respectful man will stand with that stuff. And that's the problem. So, what makes a couple is the complementary, which means if you want a masculine man, a guy who's going to step up, take care of you, handle his life, be able to support you and possibly children if you want, well, that man is a man. And a man doesn't want a man for a partner. Like hunters don't date hunters, right? So you can be a strong, independent, powerful woman, but with a man, You got to be more the feminine part, the part that he's looking for, the part that he's missing, the one that complements him. Again, like two magnets or two dancers, ballroom dancers, right? Like it's the opposition that works. It's the polarity that works. Two magnets, if they're two negative magnets, a positive magnet, you can't get them to touch, right? Positive, negative magnets, click.
Yeah.
Now that's the magnetism of lifelong love dynamic. So this is the part that people are missing or misinterpreting. You know, equality in that is a kiss of death in of dynamic. Okay, your turn.
So from your experience so far, how would you describe what men and women want in relationship, and why do they want such things in their relationships? Like you've talked about, equality and about about the dynamics of a relationship already. But are there like some common things? Because I know it could be individual. Like
it is.
Some women want some different things that is not common to all women, and some men want some other things that are not common to all men. But are there like some basic things that men and women want in a relationship for it to work? And why do men want these things, and why do women want these things?
Yeah, so that's deep, right? That's a big question, because I could go on and talk till tomorrow morning about all these things. But if I'm going to make it a general sort of thing, we process things, we're attached to things, like I said, what motivates me doesn't motivate my wife. And the idea of, why do you do that? That's so weird. You know what I mean? And, vice versa is where it gets kind of disconnected. Because if you don't get your man, right? I'm telling you an example. My wife gets that is ridiculous for most women. Are you ready? I'm a car guy. I opened my car business because I love cars. I love old cars. I love classic cars. I love, restoring old stuff. I have a whole bunch. I'm that kind of guy. So one of my favorite things to do when I'm not working, because a man has to work and then he has to relax, right? Now, relax doesn't mean sitting with my wife talking to her all day long. That's not real, right? There's some of that, but that's not the bulk of our time when I'm not working. Right? Sure. Women want that, but that's not really real. So the stuff that I do for a living to support us and family and my children, right, and hold the house together and keep a roof over our house, that's the machine of my life. And then there's the stuff that I do for me. What do I do to relax? What do I do to reboot and refill my tanks, so I have the energy to go back and fight and work some more, right? And then with all this, like, in the space for the family, and the space for the kids, and the space of Sundays family day, and all this stuff. Everything's sort of. So what I do for fun to recharge my tanks, you'll tell me what yours is. This is mine. You ready?
Yes.
I spend the afternoon in the junkyard.
Oh, on cars.
Cars, old cars, right?
Yeah.
With my tools, right? Because here in California, you can literally pay $2 and walk in the junkyard and take anything apart that you find and go back to the front and buy it, right? So old cars. So it's sunny, which I love, as you know. It's sunny. It's warm. I'm surrounded with car. The smell of gas and oil just reminds me of my childhood. So I'm completely at home there. I get all filthy dirty, and it triggers the hunter in me, right? I go hunting for that car that hasn't been taken apart yet, or the person that I need that little part in that car. And if I find the car, like, ooh, I hope somebody else hasn't got there first. And the whole chasing and hunting and competing and all by myself. But they're talking about this 10 acres of cars. 10 acres of cars for me to sort through, right? I spent the afternoon there. I'm happy as a pig and rolling around in dirt, right? But because it just connects to, and all the cars that I have, and I can eat this. So it's fun for me. It triggers all the stuff about me that I enjoy. Now, my wife would go, you going to where? Because I come back all little dirty. Like I look like homeless. I'm like a complete like. And she's like, well, that works for you. Instead of like, God, that's so stupid. You look bad and you smell bad. And, like, what's the point anyway? It's a bunch of whole cars, right? And I had a friend say to me one time, I had this old car that I restored, a 66 Oldsmobile. And it went from looking terrible. And within like 9 months, like just this beautiful jewel, like shiny black, and when she saw it before, she's like, it's just an old piece of crap. I'm like, oh, woman, you need to leave. And I see she couldn't see anything beautiful about this because it was old and no paint and or before I restored it was just faded. It looked old. It was an old car, 66. 9 months later, when it was done in shiny and black and just looking like a diamond, I remember going like, ta-da! Do you remember the car? Do you remember how terrible it looked? Look at it now. She's like, it's still an old piece of junk. And I'm like, wow, but doesn't get it, right? Mm-hmm. And most women don't get the thing about cars, whether it's performance you're after or classic lines or, antiqued or restoring or safe, whatever. My wife doesn't get it, but she gets me. Mm-hmm. So she's not saying, why do you go there? Why so silly? And who cares about the old cars, even though they're shiny? She's like, that works for you, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes when I get overly busy, because it happens, right? And I don't have space for me to take care of myself, she'll go, did you go to the junkyard? Why don't you just, take a couple hours, go to the junkyard?
Yeah.
Oh, good idea. She knows what it does for you, right? That's a woman who gets me, right? So that's what I'm saying. With men and women, we all have different things that work for us, right? It's then you have to kind of allow this space to exist. There's a lot of things that women do that make absolutely no sense to us, right? So we don't go, God, that's stupid. We just go, that's what she likes. You know what I mean? Like, so that's respect is essential. Mm-hmm. But often women like to tell us that makes no sense. So why do you do this? You know what I mean? Like, that's not necessarily respectful. There's a respect and there's understanding, and that's the kind of the discovery that you want to have.
Yeah. And how do you communicate your needs and wants, respectfully?
That's the key, right? Because the more masculine the guy is, the less, how do I put this? The more masculine the guy is, the more you have to approach him respectfully for him to respond appropriately. So again, if I say everything I teach is nature and, nature, instinctively men are warriors, right? Hunters, like hunter-gatherers, right? So the warriors are the fighters, the conquerors, they kill themselves to conquer, compete, and survive and feed their family. The gatherers will stay behind and gather everything in necessity, take care of the children, bond together, right? There's a whole machine. This has been going on for like 2.5 million years. Yeah. So 60 years of history of flipping the script is not caught up to our bodies. That's why we have such difficulties, right? So what happens if you don't approach men in a communication style? This is a big part of what I teach. How do you communicate respectfully when you approach your man, when you approach your woman, is because if you don't approach him respectfully, that he's open to hearing you as opposed to go, we need to talk. That's not going to go well. I teach women to never use that line. We need to talk. He's ready to fight because he knows he's in trouble. That's never going to turn out well. Because what happens when you trigger his fight instinct, he doesn't want to fight with you. But if you go, I'm coming at you, right? You being now you're a threat. You're coming at him like an enemy. He's going to fight back. So instead of listening to you, if you don't approach him right, and I'm not saying you have to tiptoe around him, you just have to know how there's a language. That's all I'm saying, right? If you approach him respectfully with the right language, instead of putting his dukes up and then resisting whatever you say, because who wants to know that they're messing up, they're in trouble, and they didn't right when he doesn't, right? You approach him right, and he's like open to you. Go, okay, I hear what you're saying. And when you approach him respectfully, you actually pull at men's instinct, because our instinct, again, is to fix. We want to fix things. You have a problem? Let me fix it, right? We're neurotic problem solvers. You're shaking your head, right? You know this in your body. Like, you got the lights out. Oh, let me fix it. The garage door is not open. Let's fix the garage door because now we're not safe, right? So we fix stuff for safety, for protection, for providing instinct. So when you understand man's instinct, it's so all you have to trigger it, and he does everything that you want. So instead of challenging the man, if you want your needs met and have a conversation, negotiation, you approach him in the way that opens him up, and then when you do this is what happens to me. I don't like it. Maybe can we do it a different way? Fix it for me, please. Oh, sure. What do you mean? Like he's gonna want to fix it, as opposed to push back on you. Because when you approach him like a warrior, he's gonna push back like a warrior. He has to protect himself. And even if you're right, you have a good point as a woman or anybody he's dealing with, because the same thing with business and partnership. right? If you approach him and attack, he feels attacked, he's going to push back, even if you're right, and you are going to lose. And now he's going to think you're a jerk. You're going to think he's a jerk, and he thinks you're a jerk for attacking him without him seeing it coming, right? So it's how you do this. The respectful negotiation is how do you speak. I call it Manglish. How do you speak a man's language? So instead of like triggering his instinct to fight and push back and defend himself, that he actually opens up and go, yeah, what's up? How can I help?
Yeah.
Language. So that's the big one.
And how can we speak to the ladies in a way that is respectful also? Are there ways that men should speak to women?
It's kind of the same way, right? It's kind of the same way. It's a respectful approach that because what happened is if you approach a man without, setting him up, I want to say that he's open and responsive, right? He's going to boop. For the women is when you don't set him up. If you don't set her up to say, I got something to say that may be uncomfortable, anything that you say to help her, fix something or change something, she will take personally and she'll start crying. And now you're a jerk again. Right? So you have to set her up that she knows that you have to say something and be uncomfortable. And I love you so much. That's not what I'm saying, right? I'm not judging you. I'm saying I'm uncomfortable with this. So this is now a woman knows, like she's, instead of taking on as he's attacking me, he's criticizing me. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Right? It's just this doesn't really work for me. Can we look into it? Right? And this is you keep her from shutting down and thinking you're a jerk because you know how to approach her. So language, I'm a linguist, right? This is the stuff that I teach. And I'm a teacher of effective communication strategies is super important. This is when we talk about communication between men and women or between anybody, every relationship, every dynamic you have, every work dynamic, there's relationships all around you, your boss, your peers, right? Like everybody you talk to, you have a relationship with if they're regular in your life. That knowing to communicate appropriately, respectfully on both sides, looks a little bit different. Keeps the channels open and miscommunication. People say communication is about the words that you use. No, I mean, it's part of it, but it's not enough. There's much more like finesse to it, because if you think you're communicating and you're being so obvious, but you don't get the results or you get pushback, you're not. You're not communicating. You're trying to lean on somebody or they're not, their style of communication is different. So you're being pushy or disrespectful or, sometimes the timing is super important for somebody to be present and open. You can't just start talking. You know what I mean? Because they're especially man, they're single focus. So you can't just barge in and say, all right, so let's figure that stuff out. You can't, what? Wait, no, I'm doing this right now. Right? Like, do you get a reaction? You get a wall up, you get a pushback. You're like, well, I'm trying to talk to you. What's the problem? Well, I'm busy. Well, I need to get this done now. Well, no, not this. Pull apart. Just not, you know what I mean? So this is just 5 simple steps you use on everybody, and that just takes care of all that stuff. And especially in love dynamics, because all relationships can be tricky in communication, but when you put love on top of it, bye-bye, right? Like this is a whole new level of assumptions and expectations. And as much as these relationships bring out the best of us, it also can bring out the worst of us. So we have humans up here dealing with each other. So it gets tricky. So that's the way to
That's
say it.
true.
Yeah. How you like that?
Thank you so much, Andre. I really appreciate that. Yeah. But from everything you've talked about communication and talking to each other in a respectful way, I'm sensing like vulnerability also in that form of communication.
Yes.
So what's the place of vulnerability? How can we deal with vulnerability? How can we accept, embrace vulnerability, or deal with it in a relationship?
Well, it's interesting. Vulnerability, I say nothing happens between men and women or in any really tight relationship or love relationships without vulnerability. If you're not willing to be vulnerable, typically the woman has to start it. I hate to say it. It's not sexist. Again, it's science. A man can only attach himself to a woman when she shows her vulnerabilities, when she shows her heart. So when a woman is in a man mode, I call it, or masculine mode, or like business mode, she's in her head. When you're in your head, this is where men live. Men live in their heads. To be masculine is to be in your head. To be feminine is to be in your heart, in your body. So when women are in man mode or act like men, work like men, compete with men, they're in their heads. So we're head on head. There's no polarity. Do you know what I mean? So
yes.
This is where women say, like, I work in an office with like 6, handsome, available bachelors. I'm young. I'm single. Nobody's asking me out. Well, because when you're in work mode, you're man on man. Men don't see you as a woman. They see a man in a skirt. They don't see you as a woman because they'll say bad jokes in front of you that you go, God, that's not rude. There's no woman in the room as far as you're concerned. You're a man. You see what I'm saying? So this is stuff that I teach. How do you undo this? Or how do you open the channels for them to see you as a woman, even though if you're working with them? Okay, different conversation. But that's energy. Everything's energy. So you act like a man, men don't see you. Masculine men don't see you. Feminine men will be all over you, right? But they make you crazy. So vulnerability, when it comes to relationship, is essential because it's only when a woman is vulnerable and shows her heart that a man can actually feel her and attach himself to her. That's the magnetism, right? Men, masculine men, don't open their vulnerability first. They need you to open it up, and then they meet you there. It's very, very interesting. And there's a bunch of ways I help people practice this. It's small in the beginning because it's scary. You know what I mean? But without vulnerability, you can't feel each other's hearts. You can't feel each other's soul. You can't attract the good soul of a man. He needs to see vulnerability. And that means it's a little bit scary. And you got to get out of your head and get into your heart. And this is why men connect.
Yes.
It's the polarity again. It's everything I'm teaching. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I love that. Like get out of your head and get into your heart.
Yeah. But when women are competing and working, it's normal. You have to be in your head, right? So by the way, every woman working is in their masculine. That's fine. You have to. To create results, you have to man up, right? Create, compete, produce, push, get the contract, get it done, make some money. That's all masculine. That's fine. And it's our culture. Everybody's doing that. You have to stop at the end of the day and turn yourself back into a woman. Otherwise, you're constantly invisible to man. Constantly invisible. And you think, my clients come to me with really, often like really heartbroken. They're like, I'm still young. I got everything. I have my own business, career, money, car, house, and no one wants to date me. And I'm pretty. And look, I'm well dressed. And they go, honey, it's not how you look. It's how you feel. They don't, you are stuck in your masculine because they think there's something wrong with them, right? What's wrong with me? Like nobody, and if I can't get a date or nobody's asking me out, and if I do get on a date, I can get a second date. I go, honey, it's your energy. It's not how you look, it's how you feel. Because that's the polarity again, right? If you approach relationship, and women do this nowadays as well. There's a paradigm of being in their heads all the time. If they go on a date and they turn this into a job interview. Yeah, no. men, oh my God, that's the most irritating thing in the world, right? So there's a way even like approaching dating, especially the first 3 days, is essential that you set up the tone for the date. If you go up and approach him like this, okay, let's see what you got, or interview him, or want to find out everything that's wrong with him, he's out of there. He's so quickly out of there because that is not why he's there. He wants to know who you are. He's curious about who you are. This is why he asked you out, right? So you don't go and man up against him on a date. You just kill the whole thing. And men will say things to me like, we've learned all this, right? From men and from women. But guys will say, so they go, so how'd it go? And they go, well, she's an interesting woman. It's actually quite lovely, but now if there's a but on the first date, you don't get a second date. And the but could be all kinds of things, right? So this is why I say like it's very, very, it's essential for women to really be aware of the energy that they bring, especially in the beginning, because if in the beginning, the first date is a but, why would you go for a second one? There's something wrong with her. I don't know what it is. It's like the but means something, right? Like if you're edgy, if you're uncomfortable, if you don't trust men, if you hate dating, right? Like that's all weird energy coming at him. So, and men are very, it's just interesting. This is like in the beginning on the first, second, third date, especially men who don't walk around with their feelings, right? We're always stuck in our heads. But on a date with a woman, we're very aware how it feels to be with her. You know this, right? You're shaking your head. That you're a man. You know what it feels to be with a woman. Like, it's either fun and warm and comfortable, and you connected to her and you want to know more and you're fascinated by her. She's charming. She's enchanting. You're like, wow. Or, right. Now I'm being interviewed. Right. Now she's in her head. Now there's nothing about her that's enchanting or charming or warm. Right. She's in her head. Now we can't explain that. Men can't say this. Men are very, very, the more masculine, the more that is fact, very binary. It's yes or no. It's in or out. It's black or white, right? It's up or down. Like there's no in between. So if you're no on the first few times that he meets you, like, she's cool, but whatever that but is a no. And men will say, oh, it was a lovely time. I'll call you later. They get in the car and he goes, yeah, no. And they disappear. And it hurts women. It's a terrible thing. Let me say something else about that. And women say, well, you should call me to tell me this. No, not because it's mean, because it is. It's rather crappy for a guy to say, I'll call you, to call you. However, it'll go back to instinct, back to nature. Yeah. Men naturally want to provide and protect women. We're not wired to hurt women. This is why we can't fight with women. When you have a fight, notice men are shut down. Because we're not equipped to fight, we don't want to fight, and it overwhelms our brain and we shut down. Right? So not one normal male, after going on a date with you saying she was cool, but she was interesting, but not one normal male will get on the phone, call you and say, by the way, I don't like you. I don't know what it is. There's something weird with you, so I'm not going to go out with you. Like, that would be like hurting her on purpose, which is anti-nature, and for normal males, it's not natural. So the offense to disappear is rude, but to a normal male, I'm not excusing the behavior, I'm explaining the behavior. That's even worse. You don't call a girl to say I don't like you, so I'll never call you again. That's right. That's obscene. That's obscene. But true. There's a place in between. But you could say, I've enjoyed your company. I don't see us really being a match. That would be the respectful thing to say. But most guys, even that. So I teach men that, by the way. But instinct will have them just no. So it's an example or an exercise in human spirit to do something uncomfortable for the sake of being kind to somebody. But instinct is typically a human animal, which means just take the shortcut.
Yeah, just to protect the lady's feeling, basically.
It looks mean and it's crappy, but it's actually to protect them. But it sucks. So I teach men not to do that and how to do that, so it's not so awkward and not hurting her. Like, I just don't have the feelings.
Yeah. Oh, this is so awesome, Andre. I've learned a lot from this from you already. Like from
and this is like little bits, right? This is like this much of it.
Yes, exactly. And I'm sure there are listeners out there now who would love to know more about your coaching services and the resources that you provide. So can you share this with us briefly? Like, what are your coaching services about and how can we reach you to work with you?
So a few things. So by the way, I have a gift for you listeners.
Oh, thanks.
So if anybody is curious about what I do and confused about their circumstances, and understand that I offer all you listeners, any one of them, a free hour call. Like, I call it exploratory call. Like, what is it that's not working in your life? What is it that you want? What's the dream? And how can I help? Right? So it's a good call as far as digging in a little bit, peel the onion, and it's doable in the call. It's interesting because I go right back into, most of us have childhood issues. Everybody's got childhood issues, big or small kind of thing. But these typically are the things that get in our way in being completely open and vulnerable and real in the world. And so often when you go, what's wrong with me? In that call, we'll peel the onion and you go, see, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just what happened. Like, that's so the call alone is uplifting and helpful, and will, lift your spirit and maybe even give you hope that this is not you, it's what happened. Now, what do you want to do with it? Right? So the free call takes it's a little bit over an hour typically. So if you go to, I have this landing page, this call. If you go to Andre Group Coaching, andregroupcoaching.com is a landing page. it takes you to my calendar. Just click on the VIP 1 hour call, men or women. It'll go right to my calendar, and then we'll have a conversation. So that's my gift to the audience. Other
That's
ways,
great. Thank you so much.
yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. Other ways to find me and see what I'm up to, if you go to my website, projectequinox.net. Equinox is EQUINOX.net, right? To be clear. You understand the equinox is a perfect place between dark and light.
Yeah,
so
true.
The whole balance. So that's why I called it. I thought it was clever. I have an Instagram. It's at Relation Dynamics. Project Equinox on Facebook. If you Google my name, it'll come up all over the place. I have podcasts all over the place. But the website has a few YouTube videos. I haven't been too overwhelmed to really build that channel. Maybe I have 25 the YouTube, but I have a lot of I have some articles, you could blogging and stuff. So stuff that I wrote, stuff that I've done, and a lot of podcasts on there, and also men's podcasts, which women should really take a look to see men talk without the presence of women, how men talk. You know what I mean? It's kind of a being a fly on the wall type thing. So anyway, you can spend the afternoon on the website, but and anybody who's curious about anything, just book an appointment or send me an email, and see how I can help. I have an event. Can I announce this?
Yes, please.
I have actually, because this is not going to air today, right?
No.
Right. So I have an event this evening, but that's irrelevant. But I have also like a 2-day event coming up in February. So if you go to the website and subscribe, you become part of the informed crowd. If you're on my list, then you'll see all the events that are coming up. And these events are incredibly cheap. It's different than working one-on-one, obviously, and it kind of gets you in the loop. I also have a free Facebook private group for women only. I have about 1,600 women in there, and I have a private group. So just get a hold of me and we'll talk about your needs.
Yeah, of course, yes. I'm going to place all of this information in the show notes of this episode, so it makes it easier for anyone who is interested to copy, to click on the links, and to get across to you, Andre. That was so awesome.
Perfect.
I really appreciate everything I've been able to learn from you in this episode. You've enlightened me more on relationships and dynamics, and I love the way you narrated the stories, connected to answering the questions. That makes it very relatable and makes one to really understand it and also have that means of the opportunity to reflect on them. I really appreciate it, Andre. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. It was fun. We could do it again, by the way. There's so much you could talk about.
Wow, you made it to the very end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'm grateful for your time, your love, and your contributions. Subscribe, like, review, and share this podcast. God bless you. Bye.